everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the Uncommon Podcast. Welcome. This is episode 24, where we're going to discuss, right? Is it 24?
Yes.
The first follower, leadership, and how to create a movement. Shout out to Dusty Tommy for giving us this wonderful idea to watch a YouTube video. It's about a 2-3 minute video, and we're going to dissect elements that were taught in this video. And to paint a picture for you, everybody, and you can look this up, it's first follower. I recommend you do, because what we're going to talk about is going to make way more sense if you watch it. But to set the scenario, it's focused on the situation going on at a concert or festival. There's music going on, and there's one person dancing all by themselves. Right, Chris?
Yeah. Before you start, I have to just address that as you're explaining this, you just told everybody that we're gonna dissect a 2 to 3 minute video.
Yes, I did just say that.
It's just like we're gonna stretch it out and make a 2 to 3 minute video explanation.
Yes,
into a 20 or 30 minute one.
It deserves it. It really does.
And then you said, I think you said it's not going to be fun.
I didn't say that. Who said that? This is going to be enjoyable.
No, you said something that was like, I was like, oh, okay. Your intro was hilarious.
Oh, thanks.
But also insightful.
Wonderful. I think it's going to be fun.
It's gonna be, I'm not saying it's not gonna be fun. I just thought that's why I laughed, and I
God, can't wait to go back and listen to that again.
I know. Don't edit that out.
Oh no, it's staying in. That's staying in.
Edit it out. Oh man, that's so funny. So anyway, back on track, which is my job. I think, and I'm failing terribly.
Oh no, it's okay, because I was working on this one for a while now. You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
That's how you wrote that last one. That's funny.
With the 5 love languages, you're like, I've been waiting to do this for 3 months.
Yeah, sorry.
We've been talking about doing this
we have.
equally as well, probably longer.
Probably longer. So it's okay. To break it down, break it down.
Yeah, what is the first follower? Because when you brought this up to me, we did not stay on topic of anything that we talked about in our planning session.
It's true.
Anyway, getting my train of thought back, I had no idea what you were when you
when I first told you about it, you're like, okay, what do you mean?
What does that mean?
Yeah, that's what's unique about it. That's why I want to talk about this 2 to 3 minute video for a little while, because it's gonna really enhance your knowledge if you are in any form of leadership, and anybody we've discussed before that is influential. So if you have influence over anyone, you are a leader. John C. Maxwell talks about that, and in this video, it's kind of like I don't even know who did the video. Like, I don't look at the person's name.
Yeah, I think it was just because we talked about in our planning session. You said, well, how would you use this in real life? That's probably one of the most perfect examples of like what the first follower looks like.
Yes.
So I think you just, some people like read a book or they watch a video and they talk over it, turn into a concept.
That's what this gentleman did.
Yeah, it's the same kind of thing.
Yeah, because he spoke very eloquently.
He did.
Yeah, quite intriguing. Yeah. In fact, he goes on to discuss how a leader needs the guts, the ganas, as we talked about in our planning, to stand alone and look ridiculous. So he dives in about having courage, right from the beginning, followed by, but what the leader is doing is so simple, it is almost instructional. This is key. You must be easy to follow, So do you want to talk about that a little bit? Because that's something I know during the planning that you had mentioned. It really stood out to you. Yeah.
That does jump out at me because I think there's just a different way of looking at that, all kinds of different angles of looking at being easy to follow, right? And following the KISS method, which I think a lot of times in a leadership role, we lose sight of the fundamentals.
Yeah. The KISS method.
Yeah.
Share more about that. Remind me.
Keep it simple, stupid.
Oh, yeah. Keep it simple, silly. Keep it simple, stupid. I remember I was in a sales class. Like we always were taught, people like, a new girl called me stupid. Like it was there was a few people talking like that. I remember that. Yeah, it was a sales situation years ago. I remember that clearly. And that you say that, I was like, wait, are you talking about the same method that I'm talking about? Like, is that a different?
I just took you back.
Like, because I don't know, like that.
To 1992.
Well, certainly early 2000s. I mean, this is back when, like, I was slinging like Blackberries, Holmes.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? Oh. Pre-iPhone era. Plans.
Before Apple took over.
Yes, sir. And then after that, we talk about how the first follower, or the gentleman discusses how the first follower has a crucial role. He publicly shows everyone else how to follow. You stand out and ridicule yourself. This is an underappreciated form of leadership. What are your thoughts on that? Because leaders can be underappreciated. I'm sure you may have felt that. I know I felt that in leadership situations. Sometimes not always, but sometimes you may feel underappreciated. Yeah, so I thought that was kind of unique.
But I think when this is tied, the underappreciated role is that second person. Right. So I think of like all these child movies that I watch because I have a 4-year-old and a 10-year-old. Right. And so like Sing 2 came out, and the producer, so to speak, of the show, he's got little old lady that like helps him out, and she's his hype man, and she takes over when he's gone, and she does like all that. That's to me the first follower. You have that in corporate America. You've got like that your hype person, the one that's like never gonna turn their back on you, even if you're stupid. Stick up for you, all those things. They display it like it's a Hollywood thing all the time. The first follower. I think we just take it for granted, right? Because and this talks about it and explains a lot after the discussion of the leadership role and then what it means to be a first follower. It talks about there really couldn't be an identifiable leader without the first follower,
right?
And that's why the video stands out to me so much, because it's that transition between the leadership role, right, that we talked about. So we talked about, you mentioned it's got to be easy to follow. They have to be public, right? You have to go public, whether you have to make the announcement that you're starting this movement or what you represent, so to speak. Right. And you have to be about. That's why these people go viral, because if you notice, I think the similarities in people's on a fundamental level, when they go viral, they're about the character. They're about like this concept. They're about perception, or they're about this topic, or whatever it is. That they don't. At least I haven't seen a lot of them. I'm sure that they're out there, but not a lot of them that make it about themselves.
Right.
It's about like the whole brand,
right?
So to speak. And so like that's where that leadership role comes from. But it would just be that without the first follower. So then a leader wouldn't be a leader without that first follower that like buys into it a little bit and wants to know what it's about, and then learns about it and says, "Hey, this is awesome." Talks about in the video, which we can kind of go through the detail of the video, but you'll watch it when you transition from the actual leader, and then you have the first follower that joins in, and he's like kind of trying it out, but not a little bit fearless, and then realizes. You can see that happen in the video. It's like such a good description of this whole concept. And then the piece that I'm getting to is that he's inviting others. Right. You have to be a part of this. You have to try this out. Come on, people that that trust me, my sister, my cousin.
There's a recruiting process that occurs.
Happens, and so then once that, takes place, then the video talks about chunks of people believing in people that were scared to be in the beginning are now comfortable because they're with a group. They're not singled out anymore. All of
and the guy doesn't dance good.
No, he
what I mean? That's what's unique about how it refers to this being like ridiculed as an underrated form of leadership, because often leadership is portrayed as this like scenario where the bow tie and everything's perfect and they speak eloquent. But in this scenario, this guy's got no shirt and he's dancing poorly, very badly, and encouraging others to just have fun. And so he's braving that, and he's dancing very ridiculously. And the people are like, when he says ridicule, but what it does is like whatever your idea might be, others may think that's ridiculous, whatever it is. Like when I started a band, people didn't think that I would be a band person, but they didn't know me for music. No. Maybe if they didn't know me like in middle school, I had played instruments, and then in high school I didn't, and they picked it back up in college. It's like, oh, Josh Pacheco's not a musician. Like, maybe you don't know that side of me, Yeah. And so I had to withstand that. They had their frame of who I was. Like this, this isn't you. Like, what this is what I want to do. This is what I like, type of thing, And so sometimes whatever that idea is, you're going to face that ridicule.
Oh, sure.
And so that's what's unique about that. And
then any of the new histories, and you're going, you have a history concept. Anybody that's created or developed or tried to show or change something that's different, we refer to it a lot as out of the box thinking. Yeah. Right. Or a different concept or a different mindset. Those are the people that you're talking about. Right? Yep. Exactly. All of the evolutionary people in history were those people. There's stories out there about forefathers and those kinds of guys that before they did all these things, they were like weird, composers. Beethoven, Mozart, those guys were, like you said, ridiculed. But it's for their difference in music, or their look at Elvis.
And then their followers maybe too, like, hey, what is this? Because that's what it's talking about too, is that follower technically being a leader. And so it's like, hey, check out this Mozart. This is awesome. Like, Mozart, who's this? And so everyone else is like, oh, this is popping. And they're like, yeah, it is. You need to check this out.
That's the hype. That's the hype person.
For real. And the first follower transforms the lone nut into a leader. That's what I think is unique too, is it talks about how, because that guy's dancing ridiculously.
Absolutely.
But he wasn't alone eventually.
Yeah.
And how that's that fire, like you were saying a moment ago. Yeah, if the leader, this is good. I like how you put this. If the leader is the flint, the first follower is the spark that makes the fire. And so anyone who's ever made a fire, what it takes, and it's gonna take that extra spark. And so it's so funny when you watch a video.
Well, because
I just in my head I see these guys dancing. So funny.
Yeah, they're ridiculous. They do. They absolutely. But you know what you've watched Friends, right? Now Phoebe was just like a free spirit. That's what that guy reminded me of. They were just like, the way that she ran. Dancing. She's like, I don't care. This is how I run. This is how I dance. This is
And they're on a slanted hill.
Just who she was.
Yeah.
She didn't care.
No.
That's the same. It's the same.
Same with them. Yeah. So it started off the first ones, the first followers, but that hill had them messed up. They fell down a couple of times because it was like it was like an area where like it was meant to like sit so you can see like the stage.
Yeah, it was like Fiddlers.
Yeah, and it wasn't cool. I don't know.
No, it wasn't. But it's similar. Fiddlers. Yes, okay. I mean like the venue.
But that was messing them up when they were dancing. Because that like one dude even fell down and on all fours and like spun around and got back up. But someone's like dance with their hands behind their back and like they're just moving so funny. And then so then it continues. The second follower is a turning point.
Chunks of people, I think, were coming in.
Right? Yeah, that once it got to the third.
So
it here says the second follower was a turning point. It must be public, and everyone must see the followers because new followers emulate followers, not the leader. And then you couldn't even see the leader at one point.
Nope. By the end, you couldn't.
Then more followers arrive. And this is the tipping point where you're getting to, where more followers join in, and now it is no longer risky to be a follower. They won't stand out, they won't be ridiculed, and they'll be a part of the in crowd. And when he gets to this, we're getting kind of towards the end of that video that we're discussing, and just like hordes of people are coming, like guys and girls holding hands and vice versa. People getting up, but there's a group that's like sitting there the whole time. They don't get like, I'm not getting up, man.
There's like,
what's going on here? I chose to sit here, man. It's a good view, man.
I paid for these tickets.
Exactly. But just like a mob of people who started with one dude, two dudes, three, and then it was just a mob, and it
was a mob.
Grew.
Yeah.
And they were just having so much fun. You know, it was all positive. We talked about that too. All right, made a comment how nobody was like, hey, get over here smacking anybody. Like everybody was having a good time. And so I wanted to cap that off there.
No, and that's see, like that whole picture would not have happened without the first follower. And I think even there, or maybe in the video, it mentions how much more of a leader the first follower really might be. Yeah. In comparison,
because they're ridiculed. That's what it discusses, like you were saying.
They see past that.
Yeah.
Like right. So they've got
the vision.
They've got a different kind of vision because obviously the leader started right the concept or had the idea or whatever. But the first follower trusted without any other influence other than, oh, this is different. I like this. Yeah. I'm going to try this out kind of deal.
Treating them like equals is the other thing I don't think we addressed.
Yeah, right.
That they talks about you must treat your first followers as equals.
You, the leader, in order for it to be inviting, right? That's part of the...
making it easy
to follow. Easy to follow, right, is that piece. But again, without the first follower, then... starting that, matching the energy and like matching, okay, I'm going to dive right into this and like try it out 100%.
Yeah, all in.
Right. And then inviting people to say, hey, the water's fine.
Yeah.
Come on in.
Jump on in.
Kind of deal. That's a whole other level of leadership. Then who's the leader if you don't have the first follower? Then you just, nobody else joins in. Then you just have these, kooks that talk about guy things,
exactly.
Every, once in a while that are first follower. We're just,
that's exactly right. That's 100 right there. But, oh man. And the cool thing too is like others wanted to follow. So even though it's just the one, because like all was like, oh, I want to dance, and everybody wanted to dance, but people weren't dancing. This guy's like, I came here to dance, and he's getting down, and it's like, I need you, like, oh, everybody come out. I don't know, man. I'm like, oh, let's do this. It's fun. Like they're all doing it. And they're not scared no more.
You and I would probably consider ourselves leaders.
Yeah, of course.
But how many times, right? And this is a relatable thing that made me think of. I'm glad you went down this road because it reminded me to talk about this. How many times have we wanted to do that? Because like, you can feel the itch, right? Like you mentioned,
at a situation like that. Yeah,
you're like, I want to go do that too. So more people should join so that we can all go. You know? Kind of deal instead of us
being those people.
Yeah, like jumping up and down and like we're kind of just like, does anybody else feel this?
From here?
You guys want to go? And you kind of like make eyes at the people like, go, you go. But we can't. Yeah, why can't we do that ourselves? Us as leaders,
right? Yeah,
aren't another. We're not.
Yeah,
we don't have that capacity to be the first follower. We don't have that like leadership.
That courage sometimes it's situational.
That's why I thought that, because it's a whole other level of leadership.
Another level. That's an H&L right there. The H&L, that 3-minute video.
And then you asked me, kind of turning the corner and kind of bringing this full circle about skirt.
Turn that corner.
How it's applied in real life.
Which kind of supply in real life.
Because other than the video, and that was something that we always kind of struggle with. Other than the video,
like how's this applicable?
Like okay, that's really cool at a concert or a show or something goofy. But how does this really work in real life?
Yeah,
right? So,
in business and family.
Right. So we talked about like on the professional side, and we talked specifically about my business in the planning session. But I think rounding that corner and hanging on to that thought, I think it's true with all big companies. Started that way.
Oh yeah.
Right. You have and they're all very similar stories. Like Walmart, look at Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Those are pivotal stories. These people that have this idea to open up, or whatever, and do whatever. Yeah. But they needed, so. It wasn't just this. It was another person that said, I believe, whether it's somebody that financed the idea or gave them the brick and mortar, said, I know what you're trying to do. I want to be a part of this. Let's do this. And that is their first follower. Because without that,
mm-hmm.
you don't have that. So yes, my business is very much structured this way
mm-hmm.
in a web, because you mentioned that, knowing
mm-hmm.
how my business develops and the tools that need to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But as I started thinking about that, I mean, every other company,
mm-hmm.
every other team that you're on, every other, even in fast food places, everywhere you work is that structure
mm-hmm.
where, so you have an assistant manager.
Mm-hmm.
And if your assistant managers don't lead as
mm-hmm.
much as or more than you,
mm-hmm.
then everything crumbles.
Yeah. And think about it from an athletic standpoint too.
Yeah,
like franchises, even like from business,
sports,
in that type of industry. Mm-hmm. There's if a team's not with followers, and that's going to be a problem. That team may not be around, and they're only placing teams, based on research that there's numbers enough for a community to follow.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and then you start talking about, this was my favorite piece. I didn't share this with you in the planning session because I thought this would be better just to bring it up now, because when I asked you, well, what about you and how you think about it with your family, you didn't. This is what was really cool, is you didn't, and I want you to talk more about it. You didn't talk about just your family structure. You talked about your family as an example in sort of a matriarch setting, like in your own family, and how you guys as a family, are trying to be a good example for other families within your family, right? Your brother's family,
right?
Parents, cousins, all those things. And then you talked about that as an example of your family being an example to other families when you coach.
Oh wow!
All the other families.
I said that. Wow.
Yeah,
that's how you took it.
You
whatever I
said.
That. Wow. Yeah, I said that.
Well, that's exactly not where I thought that was going to go. I said that. No, that's incredible. I am that smart. Josh Pacheco here.
Oh gosh.
Yes, you did say that.
That's funny.
You inspired. I was like, wow, I didn't. Okay.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
I remember talking about breaking that down regarding because you said, I'd asked you about the family, and I kind of tied it into leadership of how serving the community essentially is what I was getting at, and so using that form of leadership as far as with the first follower, like with players and parents and keeping teams together, because they're, understanding and appreciative of our skills as coaches and our betterment of the athleticism that the kiddos are developing, but also it's fun and they're growing. And so that's what I remember saying, but I love how what I said, you interpret it like that. So thank you. Because that was a different perspective than kind of what I was.
What you were meaning to say?
Yeah, well, I didn't see it that way. Like the way that I worded it, that like you kind of saw it differently. So thank you. Then what I did, because I didn't see it as being an example per se, but I see that now that you say that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because it's just communication is so interesting in that capacity, And I guess that's the concept to kind of piggyback off of is the communication that occurs during that video. There's hand gestures, there's movement, the music is going, and it's like weird same beat techno stuff almost. I
would say 90s. So this goes back to
come on.
Early episodes when we talked about body language,
right?
And what was it? Nonverbal communication,
nonverbal cues, yeah.
And this is a perfect example because the guy's talking over the video, right? And there's probably virtually little to no talking. I mean, the guy might have shouted, "Come on!"
Yeah.
But outside of that, it's just movement,
right? Because the music's loud.
Yeah, they're at a music festival or concert, something, and so there's really even no back talking in the background. People are just moving. You see other people that were getting into it, and they're without joining the movement per se. But that's a good example going back to that point, that how powerful nonverbal communication actually is. We say words have a lot of effect, but that's a pretty big example of that statement.
Yeah, the communication component I think was the only thing now that we discuss this and are dissecting this 2 to 3 minute video, that probably wasn't discussed. But I love what was discussed. And just to recap, the individual that does the voiceover talks about how the recap number 1 is nurture your first few followers as equals. So in the video, the guy's dancing, and encouraging with the others. Not like, hey, what are you doing? It's just us. Like, I just want to dance by myself. Like, it's like, hey, yeah, man. Like, all right, cool. Like, even like grabbing hands and moving,
Yeah.
So there's like that touch. Make it about the movement, not you. So the person was never giving body language.
Even the leader,
about them. Like, this is all for me. Or seeking praise, so to speak.
And you know what? It didn't seem like this is now that you say that, the leader never stopped.
No.
Like the leader didn't stop and like try to. So this is for leadership.
That's role, good. Right? Never stop. Don't quit.
Didn't stop to say, "Oh, you're not doing that right. Oh, you're not doing that right. Oh, you're not." You didn't micromanage. He just kept going and leading and doing what he knew best, and keep and let everything else develop. And I think again, like going back, I know we keep going back to leadership, but I think that's a quality that we've even really good leaders forget.
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
to just let them.
You're there for a reason, right? You got there organically somehow for a reason. God put you there for a reason, based on what you know, what you do best, and all that. So, yeah, just let it happen.
Yeah, you let the play roll sometimes.
Yeah,
yep,
for sure.
That's good, because you can't, like, as coaches, we can't run that play forward.
No,
our athletes.
Yeah,
so the followers got to run their own play. That's I love that. And then, of course, be public. So whether that's make an announcement, you're online, or public in the paper or whatever. In this situation, it was the demonstration of dancing. And then to yours,
be where people could see you.
Yes, yes. And then be easy to follow. There's nothing difficult about this scenario. So I take that kind of with like, also like being available, if that makes sense, depending on what it is. Like in this scenario, it's at a festival, but whatever your business might be, you've got to be easy to follow, whether that's online or your email.
Duplicatable.
Yes.
You could say duplicatable.
There you go. I love that. Yeah, that's probably a better way to put that, actually.
In some ways. We talked about this happening for a podcast, right? That was exactly like how we ended the planning session, how our podcast developed, and like where we're hoping that it's, we joke about that a little bit, but our podcast really came in that regard. I mean, like, I guess I'm kind of the first follower.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, because you and I were talking.
Absolutely.
About
doing the
just
podcast.
Everything. No, we were talking about life. The first time we were in the booth at the alumni game.
Yep.
And
Chris had volunteered to service to be a DJ for us for the event.
I got the privilege. Yeah. And so I was like, dude, you should do a podcast. And you're like, and people say that. We just kept talking. And then I remember the second year, and I was like, bro, did you ever start a podcast? Because you should really start a podcast. And you were like, we should start a podcast.
I did say that.
You remember?
Yes.
And
yes.
Yeah. And so I said, all right.
Yeah.
Like, are you serious? And you're like, yeah, are you serious? And I was like, yeah. And then we kind of part ways, and we talked about it here and there. And then I was like, dude, like,
it was like 3 months later.
Yeah. We got to do this. How do you want to, how do you want to start? And then, COVID hit, and we figured it out.
Yeah. Because we started just before that happened. It was like that early March. Oh, geez. That's like 2 years ago, just over 2 years ago now.
Yeah, isn't that nuts?
We've been doing it.
A little over 2 years ago.
Yep. Wow. Here's to you, sir.
Cheers.
Here.
Empty can of
water. That's
cheers.
Here. No, that's.
Oh.
That's bad luck.
Like Jesus making my empty can full.
Salud.
Amen.
Here's to you.
It's good water.
It is good.
It is good.
Quite tasty.
But I mean, it's everybody's hope, and they start one of these. I mentioned this to a friend of mine, and she's like, "Yeah, how'd you guys get started? I want to start my own." It's just an opportunity for me, a different kind of leader.
It is interesting. Yeah, I've actually helped others get in the right direction as well. With just how we did it. And everybody's got to do it on their own. That's what's kind of cool. It's like there's so many options. So whatever you want to do, you got to do it, and you got to Do it, ain't nothing too difficult to do it, baby. Go.
But I mean,
a lot of prayer.
I think a lot. I see it a lot here in town, in like the restaurant business and the mom and pop, small businesses. These people have idea for their store, and then when they get a family member or partner that's really like gung ho about the whole thing, and it
blows up.
It really blows up, and it becomes a successful business, but not without that first follower.
Yes,
right.
That's well said.
So hopefully, our team, you and I,
yes,
we'll have I think we've had a lot of first followers. Somebody that's like really like, yeah, you guys are awesome. Yeah. I want to give you tips and interact with us and make us better.
Well, we do get a lot of invites in other platforms as well, so there's some recognition in that capacity. But those that are listening, we would love for you to please go to our YouTube. We have all of our episodes there. Not all of our episodes are listed on the podcast, and we have all of them on YouTube, and we are seeking more followers. So please like our page, share, text it out, but we're really pushing that on YouTube. And then of course on Facebook, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and any platform. Yep, all those. And then also just a quick plug while we're on the topic. Then the recap also continues. Know that leadership is overglorified. That's unique, huh? Because the guy was humbled.
Well, and so biblically, right? Like, I use this example because David and Goliath.
Yes,
right? Everybody celebrates David, but he wasn't the leader of the army.
Who was the leader of the army, Chris? I'm asking you.
I don't remember it.
David was a leader of the army, but he
not then.
Well, I don't know. I'm not sure where you're talking at, but I remember that he was.
He was stone.
Right, but he was underestimated.
He was a shepherd.
Right, he was a shepherd boy. They came for him because they wanted him.
His dad. It was his father that was.
It was
someone else. He was one of the sons, right? It wasn't his son.
Well, Pastor just talked about this, and he had several sons, and they wanted to see David. He's like, no, he's just a shepherd boy. He like sometimes smells bad. You don't want to see him, type of thing. And they wanted.
Oh, he was the true heir to the throne as well.
Right, but he had the strong brother, and he's like, oh, this is the one you want. And there's like, no, man, I want to see this one.
I thought he was the king's son.
Yeah, well, he became king because of what he did, and when he conquered Goliath,
there's something crazy about that.
He got to marry the king's daughter. That's how.
That's
how he became king. But he was only a child, and so he was underestimated. Like the armor didn't even fit him.
He was a shepherd,
Yep. So the leader. Know that leadership is overglorified because like he led the way, like you uncircumcised Philistine, and check him out, bro. For real.
Yeah.
It is the first follower that transfers a lone nut into a leader.
Yeah.
I love that because in this video, this dude is dancing so nutty.
He looks.
And you might look like a nut when you're doing something like a podcast or whatever you're trying to start. Business-wise,
so free. I don't care. This is what my body's doing right now. That's what I'm feeling.
Exactly. It's vibe, baby.
Yeah.
And then number 7, there's 8 of these, so 2 left. Courageously follow when you see a lone nut doing something great. So this individual is encouraging others to follow because you can be a leader by being a follower.
The best leaders are followers.
And lastly, have the guts to be the first person to stand up and join in. So
we talked about
voiceover guy, definitely encourages that.
Leaders for most of our lives, and
it's not always
I can relate.
Decision, sometimes force plates. You're like, oh, I guess I'm the leader now. I'm sure that happens to you often.
That just happened to me.
That just happened. I believe it. I believe it. Well, that's good. And now you've got a movement you're creating.
I think we might be.
You are. I want to go to your class.
Do you?
I do.
It's about boundaries.
Let's go.
It's powerful.
I'm sure it is. Do you want to do a little plug? You want to tell us about it before we end this?
No, it's a private group.
Okay. Private group.
I appreciate
You're not invited. Nanny boo boo. But we hope you've enjoyed this episode 24. We talk about the first follower. We've really had fun talking about this, and we always enjoy interacting with all of you. Please leave some messages in the comments, any suggestions or maybe a unique topic that you'd like for us to discuss. Like this one today was by one of our listeners. Thank you again. Shout out to Dusty Tell Me, Professor Tell Me. Thank you, my friend. And with that said, Chris, any words of advice before we wrap it up?
No, sir. It's been.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Word of the day is what? That's what we do it for our flag football team. We always have a word of the day. I think what our word of the day is it's more of a phrase, be easy to follow. So whatever that means for you, if you're in a leadership role, find a way to make it easier. Don't overthink it, I think, is kind of the overall message.
Yeah. Now, we're looking to be followers too. We want to hear your guys' feedback and any topics that you guys want to discuss with us.
And work with other podcasters.
Being a guest on
email us. Yeah. What's our email, Chris?
Send us an email. It's fine.
I can't remember either. It's like theuncommon@gmail.com, something like that.
Oh my god.
We'll put it in the comments.
We're the worst.
Not the worst.
You put a little graphic on mine.
Oh, that's good. And then we can start dancing. Be like
like a true TikToker, like a true viral. Yeah. So anyway, love to hear from you, interact with you.
Yes.
Love for you to be our first follower.
Do it.
Our first real leader.
Let's go. Again, thank you for tuning into the Uncommon Podcast. I'm Josh. This is Chris. Thank you and good night. Look at the camera. There we go.